Good afternoon, Robert Scribbler. It is August 17th, 2018. Thank you for joining me for another climate change and clean energy video blog. Now for this segment, I'm going to provide you with an update on the wildfire situation in the western northern hemisphere, particularly in the United States, but also taking into account a hemispheric perspective. And in particular, I want to talk initially about the extent of smoke from the wildfires that are presently burning in the North American West. We're going to drill down to the U.S. West, but just like to note that we now have very intense wildfires burning from California well up into British Columbia. And even into, looks like southern Alaska here. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in at the very intense fires that are now burning. Would like to note that some of the fires that are burning in California are starting to be more and more contained, and this is helping to tamp down their burn rates and smoke plumes. But looking north into British Columbia, we see a considerable number of very large fires producing extraordinary smoke plumes that stretch across Canada and greatly occlude the incoming sunlight throughout a large section of southern Canada. And I'm just going to zoom in on some of these fire complexes just to give you an idea how large they are. If you look to the right, I don't know if my little facial thumbnail is blocking it, but there's a scale here. And over the screen, about from here to here is about 50 miles. So this fire complex to the northeast stretches across approximately 50 miles from end to end. And it looks like these are a number of independent fire clusters that are burning across a 50-mile extent, but what appears to be multiple fire complexes crowding into the same region here. So numerous extraordinarily large fires burning in the region of British Columbia and spreading smoke well across Canada. Now zooming out, we can see that the smoke plumes have extended through Canada, and if you look closely, you can see some indication of smoke here in the North Atlantic next to a subtropical cyclone, which is presently churning at a rather high latitude, and then on into Europe. I'm going to show you some images that have been produced by over at the American Geophysical Union site in a post by Dan Satterfield. And I just also like to give a hat tip to Bernadette Woods from Climate Central for notifying me about this. So this post highlights areas of smoke that have stretched across parts of the U.S. East over recent days. Another view of the large smoke plume that I was talking about earlier. A satellite shot of the North Atlantic in which we can clearly see, I'm going to go ahead and just click on this image so you can get a look at it, in which we can clearly see smoke over the North Atlantic and getting pulled into the circulation of a subtropical cyclone presently churning. This is the second subtropical cyclone we've had form in this region of the North Atlantic in as many weeks. So the atmospheric pattern appears to be setting up for the formation of these storms in this particular zone. But we also see a interaction with smoke from the very powerful wildfires burning out west. I'm going to go ahead and also show another satellite shot that shows the smoke streaming into Europe. You can see this in the kind of light blue here, streaming in over parts of Portugal and Spain. So it's likely that the wildfire smoke from these western wildfires will circle the globe. The present intensity is strong enough to generate a circumhemisphere circulation of smoke, so we'll just have to look at it. I'm not necessarily predicting, it's just my opinion that now the North American wildfires are intense enough to produce that effect. And we're starting to see that now. Now, drilling down to the national level, we've had, we're getting to the point where we have about 1.8 million acres that are active from fires. And usually if you get up into the 2 million acres active range, you can start getting into some record burn rates. But during recent years, we've had some amazing burn seasons. So it's worth noting that the U.S. is presently the 5th worst on record when it comes to area burned over the last 10 years. And the last 10 years have included many of the worst fire seasons on record since acreage tracking from wildfires became reliable back in the 1970s. So I'd like to show you California, because I just like to talk about a couple of fires. It's worth noting that the Mendocino fire complex is now 364,145 acres at 64% containment, and it's going to take a while likely take a while for this fire to be contained. It's also worth noting that the Carr fire is 65% at 211,000 acres, and that the Ferguson fire is 87% contained at 96,810 acres. This is a lot better than we looked a few days ago even, but it's worth noting that the Mendocino fire complex is now the largest fire ever to burn on record in California, and has beat the previous last largest fire by nearly 100,000 acres, and this fire will continue to burn for some time now. So it's possible that we could approach 400,000 acres or more in the Mendocino fire complex. So just taking a look at some of the climate features, and I'm going to talk about a recent article by Stefan Ramstorff about jet stream related features later, but for this particular event, would like to note that the ridge pattern in the U.S. West is expected to continue to persist over the coming days. This is a forecast model through August 22nd. And I just want to show you both the jet stream pattern showing a large ridge in the west, a deep dip in the east, which has been persistent. The dip in the east has been bringing more severe storms and more severe rains in the east, which has helped to tamp down fire issues for the U.S. East. So it's worth noting that the severe fires out west are the ones that are primarily driving the U.S. fire season this year. So this ridge in the west is helping to amplify heat, and flipping over to the temperature map, we see that there is a persistence of predicted above 90 and above 100 degree temperatures in the California region, in Arizona, in parts of Nevada, in parts of Utah, in parts of Washington, and for some parts of the forecast into sections of Montana and near Montana, North Dakota, and southern Canada. So the ridge pattern in the west continues to dominate and continues to produce very extreme heat, which is unfortunately likely to continue to also help to increase fire risk. So just an update, and just a note that wildfire smoke is from the North American wildfires is beginning to start to circulate the northern hemisphere, and that we have very intense fires now burning in British Columbia, which is another impact of this very persistent ridge that we have seen in the west, and a ridge that is associated with human-caused climate change for a number of reasons, including sea ice loss and a tendency for the northern Pacific to warm as a result of human-caused climate change. So thank you for joining me, and I'll be chatting with you soon.